Hi, my name is Ashley Thompson. So I kind of wanted to mostly talk about how everyone here can kind of help me, because I know that I have a room full of entrepreneurs and resources and things like that. So I'm really going to focus on where I got to my business, kind of what we do and what our problems are right now. We've been in business for about 2 years. Right now we're named Pressed. So that is kind of a recent revelation. We used to be Smash Creative Services, and we rebranded into the Pressed for a lot of reasons, which we'll kind of go into with some of our problems. It's kind of an address of our problems. I started the business when we first moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So I'm from Wisconsin. I went to the University of Madison for marketing. I was doing sports medicine, a clinic manager, and when I was working there, I loved my job. I kind of was in charge of a lot of different things. My boss was an entrepreneur. We had a private practice, and that's kind of when I really realized that I liked being an entrepreneur, being more creative, being in that field, that we'd be more creative with our marketing ideas than it did when I was in a larger company. And as soon as I got the news I was moving to North Carolina, I was really upset that I had to leave. It was kind of the last thing I wanted to do, was to quit my job, start all over again, after I kind of built up this thing in Madison, Wisconsin. And that's when I decided that I had to do something that I would never have to quit again. I didn't ever want to have to, move to the next place and quit my job. And as many of you probably know, in the military, that's a very good probability. So, hopping from job to job really wasn't something that I was looking forward to. I knew I had more to offer, and I knew that if I had something I could build on, that I would be more successful that way. So as soon as we got here, my husband deployed, went to Afghanistan within weeks of us arriving here. So I was, here in North Carolina by myself, not knowing anybody. And the first thing I did was I reached out to the Small Business Center, started talking to Dale Fye, who was there at that time. And then I also went to the Rural Center and worked with Amanda Sorrells, and really started working on my business and what I was going to do. And since my husband was deployed and we have no children, I had lots and lots of time to work 18-hour days. I went to the MyCAA program, and on top of my marketing degree, went back to design school. So I learned how to do more graphic design, web design, coding, and that's when I noticed that there was a problem. A lot of business owners need marketing, they need design, they need branding, but you either have a designer or you have a marketer. So the designers make stuff look really, really good, and the marketing has the strategy behind it, but it's not always the best looking kind of thing. It's really hard to find a designer who can create things with the marketing already there inside of it. And it's very hard to work with both teams because they like to butt heads with each other. So what I wanted to do was create a solution for that problem, and create designers who design from a marketing perspective and helped small businesses grow from being able to pull from one resource rather than having multiple companies to pull from. So we recently relaunched this press, and I have a video that kind of explains what we do and where we're at, so you have a good idea of what the company is all about. what we do and who we are, and that has brought some challenges. I'm lucky enough to have really great mentors and go to these events. I'm a military entrepreneur with Inc. Magazine and their program. They do a selection where they find military family members and veterans, and they match them up with Inc. 500, 5,000 CEOs to do mentoring. And I've had a chance to meet with about 5 or 6 within the last 2 years. And when I started having my problems at first, one of my mentors sat down and told me, I need to move into more traditional agency style. We need to charge higher prices, we need to, hire more people, we need to do things like that. And the whole time that he was telling me that, I kind of wanted to shove my pencil in my eye, because that's the last thing that I wanted to do. I didn't really want to just kind of take this traditional route and build myself my own job again. I wanted to do something differently and a little bit more creatively, so that we aren't just another marketing agency or design agency or branding agency. The biggest struggle with that is we have 3 obstacles we're trying to overcome right now. One is the service-based business model is very tough because we're always trading our dollars for hours. There's only one of me, and in the beginning, it's as we got busier and busier and busier, I slept less and less and less. Every single time I got a new client, I started not getting happy. I was like, oh my gosh, another one. I'm not going to sleep. I started to have weeks where 2 nights out of the week I wouldn't sleep at all. And finding really good people is a tough thing to do, especially when you need to take the time to train them. But I need them because I'm busy. So to be able to sit down and train these good people and find them is really difficult, because there's also, once they turn over, that gets really hard too, especially since it's such a specialized field. It's hard to find people who have marketing background, design background, experience in both, and are good employees altogether. The other thing that we've been trying to do is work on somehow trying to productize our business so that it isn't dollars for hours. We just started doing recently, and you saw in the end of the video, we do a lot of letterpress, which is a vintage way of printing. The machine is over 100 years old. It's kind of how things were done. So long ago they don't even make machines anymore. So it really only has a certain amount of people who are able to do it. The barrier to entry is a little tougher than any other kind of printing business. And it's more of an art form. All of our designers actually had to do letterpress in college, so it was something we're familiar with. And that's how we're trying to do some productizing, putting our designs into products and things like that, so we can try doing more B2C instead of B2B. And then one of the third problems that we're having is narrowing our services down. I was really good in the beginning at saying yes to every single one who came to me. And it was exciting. If someone come and I'd be like, yes, 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 I'll do that. We can do that. I'll figure it out. And now we have a very big service list, a lot of clients, and some of them aren't the best fit, and our services would be best served if they were narrowed down so we could focus on finding the right people. Because I think that's why it's hard to find good people, is we do so much. We would need a really large staff to get specialists in every area. That's kind of where we're sitting right now with, how far we've come. So we've come very far. There's 4 employees right now, and we have a lot of clients, and we're now starting to get some of the bigger clients. We started doing the marketing for the Affordable Care Act in North Carolina, and we just started talking to USAA. So we're starting to talk to some bigger businesses, but we still have these problems, and we want to try to get these solved before we keep bringing on more people. So I would love to answer any questions and see if anyone has probably been in the same spot as me or has any advice, because that's the biggest thing that I'm here for.
One of the things you bring up that's really a challenge is, again, when you're new, is you say yes all the time because you need the revenue. But also, you're talking about that you've got a number of clients where you're providing a service which it may not be the best fit for you to provide that service. Have you thought about or looked into identifying some strategic partners where you might be able to call in another firm or another consultant who might be able to handle that business for you? I know it's a little bit of a risk. You don't want to bring somebody in who might take over that relationship, but that strategic partnership could be a possible avenue.
Yes, I would love a strategic partner. I'm very open to something like that. And I think one of the things we have to solve before we do that is we still price too low. So we're not priced at a point to bring in a partner who prices higher than us.
Yeah, that's another yeah, I've been through a group that had that same challenge where people, when you're talking to some of the partners, they're saying that you're charging too little.
Yeah, so that's one of our biggest issues, because I think I would rather move to strategic partnerships than a gigantic staff.
Mm-hmm.
And then finding those partners is, you know, I'm only 3 years, I've probably been here in North Carolina. So I'm still trying to, you know, meet people and see who's out there and, you know, who is kind of a good person to work with.
No, it's a real trust building exercise too. A lot of times it's something you might end up working for, bumping into them in some sort of relationship where you're both working for the same client and realizing there's some strategic opportunities for both of you. But yeah, it's hard to do that in a cold call. It's almost something you have to have some experience with them before you really want to get into business with them.
Yeah, and the referral network's been great. I've been getting a lot of referrals recently.
One of the things, I have two. One I'm going to mention, and the second one's a question. When you talk about the strategic partners, we have an ability to help you find those partners based on NAICS codes.
Okay.
So we identify your NAICS codes. I can give you a list of folks in our database here at FTCC that have, you tell me if you want to look at Fayetteville, if you want to look statewide, strategic partners. The second question I have is, what is your role?
That's a really good question, because that's something that I just talked to one of my mentors about. I was at a conference and they told me, if your business can't run without you, you don't have a business. And I was like, crap.
Because you said in your presentation, you're the one that knows how to work that press.
Yes.
And so when you're working the press, who is out developing the strategic plans, the strategic relationships, and the date, and all that stuff. So it's one of those things where it's your baby, but now it's a point, now we got to cut the string.
Yes.
And having come from a tech, interactive multimedia industry, where the company president, what he really saw was, he was the technical guy. He was more comfortable with that role. So you got to find somebody who's going to be out there doing the marketing. If that's not you, if you want to stay on the technical side of the office. So what's the point? You got to find somebody to help you grow and that understands your vision, that you want to be niche, but you don't want to be captured as one particular thing. You want to expand and go.
Yes, and that's actually something that just recently, I just got back from the conference last week, is I'm trying to remove myself from the day-to-day operations, working with clients, taking phone calls, things like that, so that I can be more strategic in the business. I just recently, she's only like 2 weeks old, I got a virtual assistant. She changed my life in 2 weeks. It was amazing. But my goal is to find that right hand, guy or gal, and maybe even do some kind of equity or something.
Yeah, your dilemma is not uncommon. I just started a business myself, and right now there's 3 people involved: me, myself, and I. And I just face this myself because I'm just getting over an illness. And when I'm sick, I can't be out generating business, and my income stops. So it's difficult to figure. I'm still trying to figure out which functions I'm going to. Well, I've made some decisions about which functions I'm going to farm out, and which functions I'm going to concentrate on myself. And so you're not alone in that.
Yes, and that's a struggle. I've even talked to people in business for 20, 30 years, and they still struggle with letting things go, letting someone else do it. I'm lucky to work with a lot of other business owners because of what we do, and I see it all the time. It's just like you don't want anyone to do anything else. I'm really bad at farming stuff out because no one does it as good as I do. So I think
The mark of a good leader is the ability to delegate.
There you go.
yes.
My first rule of business is never hire anybody dumber than yourself. I'll leave it at that.
I've made that mistake already too.
You had mentioned challenges with training and finding the time to do it. What does your training process look like right now?
It's very much like a mentorship. Right now, my whole staff is military spouses, so they all just work really close with me for a while. See what I do. We go through everything, but it's kind of just like having like an intern or somebody shadowing a lot. My VA is working on putting together a manual, so the next person doesn't have to, be under my wing so much.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was looking at. Maybe get one person fully trained and then have them do the training so you can let yourself out.
Yes, that would be amazing. But the training process is a difficult one, even because you can't train. You can train, but it's still more difficult to train creativity and things like that. There's no manual for how to be a better creative. Some of that you can explain over and over again, but someone just has to have it already, or have an eye for design. It takes a lot of time to develop that. So finding good ones from the beginning is another thing that we struggle with.
One book I recommend you get your hand on to read. It's a book by Dr. Nick Murray. It's called A Game of Numbers. Very good book, because in the book it talks about you don't market McDonald's to vegetarians. So in the book it talks about identifying who your target market is and understanding that business is just simply a law of numbers. And that way you can detach yourself from the emotional aspects of rejection and just understanding, like, my business, in a particular day, I might, me as a business owner, I might call 50 people. When I call them, I care less what they say. As long as I know that I'm targeting, I'm shooting at the duck. Well, every day if I make 50 pops at a duck, 50 times 5, that's 250. I'm not that bad, I'm gonna miss 250. I'm not gonna miss every shot. So what I do at the end of the day, God, I made my 50 shots, now it's up to you.
There you go.
Then the next day I get up, 50 more shots. And so what happens, the compounding effect. The most important thing of what it did, it kept me, that I don't go through these emotionals of, oh, why did she say no? Why come they didn't return my call and all that? Because as a business owner, you got to stay focused and don't get involved with the emotional ups and downs. But people say no. I write a person, you can write somebody a $500 check. Some people complain, why don't you give me a check? It's just people, So you got to detach yourself from the emotional ups and downs, the day-to-day issues that you're going to encounter, trying to get that business up and running. But it's a great book. It's called
Can't
Law of
take
Numbers.
rejection personally.
Yeah, don't take it personally, please. You got the
You'll
idea.
never
it's your idea.
survive if you take every rejection personally.
Yeah, and actually, like you said, targeting the target market, that's something that I need to get out and do, because I keep complaining that I have the wrong customers, the wrong clients, not the best fits, but I'm just letting them all come to me and saying yes to everyone. And I haven't given myself the time to go, shoot at that right market.
Yeah, you got to study. If I'm going to call a business owner, I'm going to study his or her business before I call them. And so I'm going to tie my product with an issue that I can perceive that they're having in their business. You see what I mean? Because it's all about helping someone. It's not about you pushing what you have onto someone. It's about you solving a person's issue with your, whatever your business is.
Find their pain.
Yeah, find their pain. And that's how you capture their attention versus, just being so excited trying to push something on somebody and saying, what in the world are you talking about? But if you can call me and tell me, Paul, that's such, Gosh, we were just talking about that in the meeting this morning. Wow, I found the answer, guys. You see what I mean? So, the military, we call that, intelligence. We go in and get intelligence on the enemy prior to
Intelligence
launching out
preparation
there.
of the
Yeah,
battlefield.
It's very
IPB.
crucial. It is. But that's a good book. You get your hands on, read it, called The Law of Numbers.
I will, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure it-
And I'll piggyback on what you were saying in regards to the target market, because that is very crucial, and knowing who that target market is, so that then that you can price your product according to that target market. And then you know that your pricing is comparable and is competitive up against your target market. So when someone comes and you said, I'm just out, I just take it with whoever, and then people are not accepted to your pricing, then you would know who that target market is and tell them, okay, this is great, may want to refer you to someone else, but this is who I am and this is what we do. And based off that target market and based off my price, then I'm able to make sure I'm hitting that bullseye like he was saying. So I would definitely say, definitely work on, identifying who your target market is. And that is something that we do at the center, and I would be more than happy to help you with that.
Yes, definitely, because I know that I get very conflicted there because I love small business owners. I love people who are just starting up and they're really talented and they're really great, but they also have no money.
Right.
So
And that's not your customer.
yeah, so it's very difficult.
Right. And that's not your customer.
You mentioned you changed your name and your branding approach. How long ago did you do that, and have you noticed any significant change?
Yeah, actually, so we changed, it was probably about 2 months ago. It was a little bit of a soft launch leading up to it. We actually ran into a little bit of a problem. When I first started, it was just, I wanted to design websites from home on my computer, and my goal was to make $1,000 a month. That was the business plan I set up with Amanda at the Rural Center. And that changed so much over the course of 2 years, where I just kept getting busier and busier and busier and adding people. Before I knew it, it was 5,000 a month, 6,000 a month, 7,000, 10,000, and that was when I was like, the business that we started with is so different from the one we ended with. We had other people who had the same Smash Creative Services. We had other people who had similar names to ours, and it was also we had conflicts there because we started as web design. There was no web design company with a name like ours. But now that we were doing branding, marketing, and we also had clients all over the US and Canada, we started running into trademark issues. And it came down to a point where my one of my mentors, who is really familiar with law, said, you can fight these for lots and lots and lots of money and then get your trademark. Or since you're only 2 years old and you really changed anyways, make lemonade out of lemons and change things up. So I decided to just kind of change everything up because it didn't feel like the same business to me anyways. We had a lot of brand recognition though, so that was kind of the hard part. But as a small business owner, to sink tens of thousands of dollars into law, attorneys, everything like that, it wasn't really feasible for me. And what happened was when we switched, I actually noticed a big shift. It helped remove me from the business a little bit because everyone really related me with the old business. And this one, people ask, oh, did you start working for this company? What do you do here? So it helped remove me, and then it gave us the ability to kind of try to focus on the entrepreneurs we want, which are more creative, more purpose-driven, rather than doing SEO for a doctor's office. We're getting more people come to us who want creative. So that's helped a lot. And that's, as soon as we did the rebrand, that's when people like the Affordable Care Act and things like that started reaching out to us. So I think the presence change just gave us a little bit more of a professional look and feel. And since we do branding, I had to show that we can do branding. So it was a great case study on myself.
Thank you.
One last question. What can the community do for you?
Yeah, so the most helpful thing for me is just open and honest feedback. I've had such a great time in this community connecting with people. I've had so many people help me through so many different ways that I've done things. And, you know, I don't need a pat on the back saying good job. I want people to be honest with me. You know, when you see, you know, if you see something, you know, reach out and email me, or if something doesn't look right or if you don't like it. You know, I really like getting feedback on what we're doing from people with, you know, no sugarcoating. I think that's the most helpful thing. And then just being a part of our story. So whether that's just following along with us, seeing what we're doing, you know, telling the story, relaying it, or, you know, working with us. You know, as long as the community is part of our story, I think we'll do better.
Super.